Good afternoon, South Bunbury supporters and members. We're here today to interview Ian Sheriff Cahill, our league record games holder, 277, also life member and club legend. You're welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, mate.
So,
pleasure.
Before we start, where did the name Sheriff come from?
Yeah, a long story. As everybody in any footy club has to have a nickname.
Yep.
And I think I was hanging around playing Colts, Doug Cleese as a coach, and my dad was a cop in Bunbury for many, many years. And one Saturday afternoon at the bar here with all the old legends that used to drink up here on a Saturday, and you know, I'm Bill Bellwood.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it was Louis Stafford or Mickey Simpson or somebody said when I walked into the rooms, here comes the little sheriff. And so that stuck. And that became sheriff, and I would have been 16 or 17 then, and stuck.
And here we are.
And there we are.
At 70 years old, we're still calling you Sheriff.
Yeah, 3 years later we're still sheriff.
Yeah. So going off that, how did you first become involved in South?
Yeah, I suppose it was always going to happen because my old man phoned us out, and interesting to talk to Crowe and next to see what year, how many games, and what he did achieve, and I think mainly in the reserves.
Yep.
But added to that, Mouldy, who's my stepbrother, most people will know that.
Yep.
Played a lot of footy for South Bunbury. Still boasts about the stories that he's the player that sat on the bench most of the time when there's no interchange. So, and usually never got a row. So most of his league games apparently were either 19th or 20th man, and he sat on the bench. But he also captained the reserves for a long time and was a good player for South. If you couple that with where we live, and if you just one good drop punt across the road in Mangle Street, so as the crow flies from there, I reckon our house is 200 metres away. So the young kid, I would hear every night after school kicking my footy, watching South Bunbury play, watching the guys that I really admired coming up through the grades, watching South Bunbury win lots and lots of grand finals, usually sneaking in over on the western corner where there was a old red shed. Some of you might remember the red shed. And behind the red shed, underneath the fence, there was a nice little scoop out where a guy that was 8, 9 or 10 years old would sneak under and come in and watch the footy for nothing. So every Sunday that would be a ritual to sneak out behind the red shed, come in and watch South play.
Yeah.
So yeah, started when I was 7, so 1963. Bill grabbed coaching, we played there on a Saturday morning across the ground, and unfortunately the youngest grade then was under 13. So I was 7 playing 8, 12 and 13-year-olds, so it was a bit of a challenge for a very, very skinny young fella in those days to play under 13s, but played under 13s for 4 or 5 years, and then next grades, and so it was always going to be inevitable with my old man, with Mouldy, living that close, Junkie obviously fame, juniors as well.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, and through those juniors days, did you have any success?
We were normally on the bottom, mate.
Yeah?
We were normally on the bottom, so yeah, it wasn't until I got to sort of under 18s level we started to win some games, and I'm not sure what it was, whether it was the male spoilers players coming across to us, but the male's participation stopped, but early on we were very, very low at the bottom of the ladder every year, last and second last. I remember one guy played for us called Trevor Hoven, who some of the older guys will remember. When we're kicking with the wind, Trevor was centre half forward. When we're kicking against the wind, he was centre half back. If he didn't get it, we got a goal scored against us. If he got it, we got a goal scored for us. But because it was one man usually against 20, we normally ended up on the bottom. So it wasn't until much later on came together in the under 18s that was then, and it was the Colts, the under 18s, that we started to have some success. We definitely won at least 2 grand finals in the under 18s who haven't been as much.
And obviously you went right through from there.
Yeah, well, I thought about that when this was coming. So I started playing when I was 7, I stopped playing when I was 37, I never missed a season. So I'm not sure how many that do that. Yeah, tough playing a 7-year-old to play every single season until you do fame,
the league career. So yeah, pretty chuffed about being able to get through and make
such a long career at such a great club.
Yeah, and to finish as the league record holder, 277, you must be chuffed with that. That's something this club. That's,
it was never a goal, Ollie. I mean, I just love playing.
Yeah.
And so I just kept turning up, and no one had to pick me.
You know, it wasn't somebody that, you know, that was a shoe-in for a game every week, you know, and so I had to do in every game I got, and I just kept turning up and just kept loving it, and I really didn't care if I was playing league or reserves or Colts.
Yeah.
As long as I was playing every week south on with teammates that were, you know, by that stage lifelong friends.
Yeah.
Then that's all that I really wanted. And yep, you know, just lucky the number of games came around as a byproduct, just come turning up to, and you know, you know, say a lot of times I missed a hell of a lot of games through injuries.
Yeah.
Hamstring, knees. So you know, I don't know if you work out possible game we could have played, it would have been 400.
Yeah.
21 consecutive seasons of the league.
Yeah.
We have played 20 games every year. It's wonderful. That shows that if you unfortunately use a lot with me hamstring, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, really lucky, and yeah, the games record thing just came around as a fight showing up playing it.
Yeah. Well, you obviously enjoyed playing, as you just pointed
Yeah.
out, but you also did a bit of coaching.
Yeah,
Through the years.
Yeah, so you know, coached a couple of junior teams, as a lot of the players didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that was almost part of commitment to South. So I coached under 10s and under 12s for a couple of years. I didn't have much success there, and then started to coach the resi. Again, just a bit more by accident, and we had reasonably good success there. I think I only coached 2 years, and we came second, and then won the next year. And then obviously got the league job. Came second after winning the grand final, and then last or second lunch, and then as you do, you get fired. So, you know, that was the coaching. But, you know, it's funny, I reflect on that last year, and I probably got as much enjoyment out of that. Lost so many players. We had really good guys coming through, Joel Cornelius, guys like that.
Who were really a pleasure to coach and to see grow. The fact that we didn't win many games, you know, was a reflection of where we were. We had guys like Murray Bassett playing centre in the league side. Butcher Peters playing up over the league side. And they can see, but in terms of endeavour, in terms of effort, in terms of commitment, it was really an awful year, you know, you do that well.
Yeah. And with all of that time you've had at the club, what do you think makes this club so great? Why does it stand out?
Yeah, well, obviously the success is great, and we talked prior to the interview, you know, 46 premierships and 30-something runners up. So, you know, add that together, and it means that we're in a grand final Western every second year. So that part of it's really fantastic. But I think, again, I just enjoyed the atmosphere, the camaraderie that this club provided for me from a very young age. And a lot of the guys that I started out with, and you know, 7 or 8 year old at the club, came up with me. Not all of them went on to play a lot of league footy. You know, family things happen, job things happen. But as a close-knit club, real sense of family. You know, for me, living just across the road, I'd spend more time here than I did at home after school. It was great to go. You know, even, I don't know how old I was when this room here was built. 1971, Roy Hancock got to come over every night, sweep the concrete pad for him, clean up all the shit. Boy, to be here, you know, building as usual club work. Fantastic. In the early days, we were at Cahill.We Hall, you know, butcher's paper on the tables. A couple of the smart asses in the team set fire to the butcher's paper in the middle of the players' tee, and guys like Paddy Maloney and some Parsi and some of those guys, they come off their nut because the butcher paper was scuffed up and flamed it, and then put out the fire. So, you know, it's, for me, it's a family thing, and you know, my dad got really ill when I was very young, and so that was really tough for me. He was very, very ill, very young, and so Leah was, you know, somewhere to come where I knew that I could support. I could forget about what's going on outside, and for me, that provided in-house support for me. So, you know, Chunky eventually coming across from born up Cape, played for us, and he went out there to help out my auntie, whose 2 sons were killed, couldn't operate on farm. And so he went out to keep the farm running. 15 he was when he went out there. So, well, in a born up the result of living in Cape, and he'll want to get back and play here, which we eventually did. So that sort of completed the story for me when he came back. There, you know.
Yeah, the rest history, I suppose.
Yeah. We've touched on a couple of things here, but broadly speaking, what are some of the best moments for yourself?
Yeah.
Player-wise,
I think
supporter-wise?
you know, it's a bit of a kicked around statement, but we do play for
for the Premierships. Yeah. To be so lucky as to play in so many of those, to be involved in South Bunbury in a successful era, I think is a highlight. You know, you go back even to the '76 grand final, which I think you played in.
Yeah.
You know, for me it was one of the real highlights. You know, we were favourite to win. We were the underdog. You know, Harvey Bumper were fantastic. They'll be on for 3 in a row.
Yeah.
We had a lot of guys like me that were very young. You must have been even younger.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you're competing against a seasoned side that had won premierships, and here we are with a bunch of young guys having a crack and winning that. So that was a real highlight.
Yeah.
And for me, first successful grand final,
Yeah.
having played in '74 in a losing grand final,
Yeah.
but then that should feel like what it was like to win one.
Yeah.
Particularly when you're underdog, you know, it was a fantastic feeling. I mean, obviously to play in the, up until recently, the 3 undefeated sides that we had,
Yeah.
lost to 4.
Yeah.
Playing all 3 of those was fantastic. But I still think that '76 one, for that reason, was a bit of a highlight. We were really underdog. We were up against it, and it was a fantastic feeling. You won that, and I can remember, you know, when we got to 26 minute mark last quarter, and we kicked a goal, and I said, "Oh, I think we've got this." and you know, it was a great feeling of realisation. Shit, they've actually won it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably my highlight. You know, I played for WA a few times and played against the Dicks at Subiaco Oval, the State of Origin game.
Yeah.
And that was a real highlight from a personal point of view. But I didn't know many of the guys.
Yeah.
Hodes and I were the only South Bunbury guys in that team.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have the same feeling, even though it's a great occasion. It was 40,000 feet at Subi. It was fantastic
Yeah.
to run out on a 40,000 feet and play as the curtain raiser to a State of Origin game, which WA won. Ryan Peak get $7 in the grand final. Somebody sat in the ground going to watch that.
Yeah.
But for me, I didn't have that same feeling. We put so many 2 of the South Bunbury boys in a team to be basically a net, you know, the time.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, definitely grand finals here were the highlights.
Yeah, on the celebration. But yeah, oh, absolutely, done to get them. So in all that time, touched on grand finals. So how many did you play in? How many did you win?
Now, I don't know how many I played in. I have to work out how many I lost, but I definitely won 8 because I count that last reserves grand final as one of them because it was just the same feeling, you know.
Yeah.
I've been injured all year, managed to qualify, can't remember the gate to qualify. Terry Collin was coached, I think. Yeah, the reserves. Yeah, yes, and again they were underdogs. Played it, won that. So yeah, 7 beat and they were Premierships, 1 reserves. And I can remember being beaten in '74 and again by Collie in Hode's first year. So maybe 10 or 11 not a played in, mate.
Yeah.
Pretty lucky to be around
Yeah.
in an era when there was such a competitive team.
We didn't marry finals, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
it is. It is.
Yeah. So are there any funny stories about times, either characters or events? You touched on probably a couple there, but in all that time, obviously there's been some characters, there's
Yeah.
fun times, you know, players' trips.
Yeah, look, there's a membership wins. A million of them, as you know, mate. Some you can't mention.
Yeah.
Some you can. You know, I remember Krabby having to go to a bloody hospital for alcoholic poisoning. I was grandpa, I don't can remember that. And you know, it took him a week to get over it. And it was funny, the 3-wheel Sherry's delivery van that somehow got commandeered by Hustle Monday and you know, picked up all the players. So some of those things which you probably look back on now and say, hope you're not thing right thing, but it was certainly fun. You know, the Rottnest trip that we had in '84, '85, is in, we got deported from Rottnest and had to front up to the Channel 7 news cameras here, which he wasn't very happy about.
No.
So yeah, lots of funny times, you know, and again, I think it's that sort of camaraderie that builds in those times because, you know, you do parties and sort of things, and it's a lot of fun, and as long as nobody gets served and no coffee gets damaged, which I think most of the time we adhere to that principle, and in there they were fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. So just moving a little bit forward from that, obviously it seems, we talked about the characters, where you just touched on there, that there's obviously been some great people at Christabel and the contributions they make to the club.
Yeah.
Is there any that stand out for you?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't like to single anyone out, Oldie, but when I think about this club, and I think about it, you know, when you and what I talk about this, the people I admire most in this club, I suppose, are the life members and the Crad Medal winners. And if you look back at the Crad Medal winners, I don't know what percentage of them are life members, but it's a hell of a lot. And these are the guys that give to this place, you know, not to be on the field and get the glory of winning premierships, but are in the background, putting time and getting for zero pay, for zero kudos, for zero contribution to their ego, that they do it in such a selfless way. And, you know, if you look through the list of life members, look through the list of Crab Medal winners, and I'm really glad that South Bunbury has the Crab Medal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That actually acknowledge that. They're the people I get by. And, you know, I go back to my time, and if I mention people, I'll miss people. But, you know, the City Armstrongs, Lenny Pass, you know, the guys that were there day in, day out, Archie, with very little, in fact, zero remuneration, and only payback they got to be part of the Tongariro Big Study Cup. I was lucky enough to work with Barney McNally, Greg Mason, or Trevor House, all once. So talk about motley crew. But the contribution that those guys made to this footy club, Trevor House, the most unassuming guy, and put so much investment. So when he was made a life member, I was so pleased about that, because it was somebody that could have easily stayed in the background and not been noticed. In fact, South Bunbury noticed, picked that up, and at some point made Trevor House a life member. I know how he felt about that, and I know the enormous pride he had in being a life member. So they're definitely the people I admire most, mate, you know, certainly even more than the great players that play here. People that keep this place going year after year after year with nothing except being part of Grey Bull.
And there's obviously a lot of people behind the scenes, not just men, but ladies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, go back to those times, Betty Connor and, you know, people like that who were up here every Friday night campaign when I was a kid. And, you know, got out of line when Betty Connor was here. You know, you sort of got put back in. So those people, you know, like Betty, made a huge impact on me, the young guy I've got. And there were many others, and that's the problem. You try and mention a few and you'll miss someone. So, you know, what I'd say to people is have a look through that list of life members, have a look through their best Crab Medal beers, and you'll see those people. They are really the heart and soul of this one.
And you did touch on it just briefly then, the players. And
again, I've got a different view than most people that you've interviewed. So, you know, I hear the same names coming up, and you talk about great players, but for me, my view is completely different. So the great players for me are the ones that put in year after year after year after year. Because they're the ones that are the reason why we played so many grand finals and been run up 30 odd times. And so, you know, Krabby, yourself, Pinger, I mean, Mel Nichols. How many years did Mel Nichols play? 210 or 212 words, you know, how there's still got a guy flying under the radar. Play either end of the ground, completely coachable, do whatever you wanted him to do. And fantastic, you know, sport, 5'10", played ruck for years. Jock Connor, he goes through those guys. So for me, in terms of the overall skill level and ability, you might not pick them as the best players. But in terms of this footy club, I think they are our best players, and you can have a look through that list of people who played high hundreds or a couple of hundred games. You know, Matty Archer just recently. You know, talk about a similar pathway. Comes up, plays a couple of years, Resi, comes in, becomes captain of the team, plays in grand finals. So those sort of guys are the guys that we need. And the other guys will come and they'll go and they'll play a season or two and they'll top us up and polish us up and they get us a grand final. But are they great players? Not in my view. Great players are the ones that, you know, so Bruce, Pinger, Mel Nichols, you know, those guys that contribute year after year, decade after decade. And that's what makes the school top so great.
And so what has been your involvement with the club since the playing days of Fiji?
You know, that was for the coaching, and then, you know, talked about earlier, the year that I finished coaching, I started working for Pouch B. So that changed everything for me to work-life balance and working a lot overseas. So, you know, I've worked a lot in South America, a lot in Africa, a lot in US. So to get to the Kerry Park and Bunbury games is my goal every year,
Yeah.
and obviously the finals. Doesn't always happen.
No.
To get to the Life Member Show has been a goal every year, and hardly ever happens the year that I'm normally away working. Started my own business 10 years ago, and the idea was to slow down a bit. It hasn't quite worked out that way, and so I still work a lot in Pilbara, in the Northern Territory, Tasmania, and occasionally overseas, and that takes up a huge amount of time. So, yeah, luckily able to get to the AFL games this year and help out a bit in the canteen, but it's really just trying to get to a couple of games a year, get to all the finals, and where possible get to the line member show. That's a really important one. Yeah, to be able to mix with those guys and to maintain those things for the peak, but really important to fully top.
Yeah. So, just touching on South Bunbury, where it is today, and the Crows put out the figures that you're going to have the AGM, and the club seems to have done very well this year. After, so being a deep thinker and a very wise man, where do you see the club at the moment? We've had some success on the field, obviously, which is awesome. Where do you see us going into the future?
Yeah, well, it is a great result this year, and I was so pleased to see the recent balance sheet, to see that we have turned the Shepherd to 100 grand into a surface part of grand. So that is absolute testament to the effort that's gone in.
Yeah.
The windfall of the AFL games has been great.
Yeah.
But I do think it's going to get harder and harder and harder. And, no doubt that's been felt. I worked behind the bar here for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Before the Eagles and Dockers were formed.
Yeah.
And so our bar turnover was amazing.
Yeah.
This bar here would be packed out the Saturday afternoon, watching the waffle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And playing pool or playing darts. Hockey clubs, the dart clubs, all coming in on Saturday afternoon, so they'll be required 2 or 3 bar staff on Saturday. So our turnover was huge. Introduction of the Eagles first, and then the Dockers later. Introduction of coach stricter kind of thing, driving laws, package beer, all those things changed that. And so the club had to be really innovative, be kind of think about how they can continue to be as prosperous as we possibly can. I've got some thoughts about a future fund, and I'll mention it to you, mate. But we had a chance to set up a future fund years ago. We missed that opportunity, but I still think it's an opportunity to start a future fund for this club. That would be a fund that would continue to grow, that would be untouchable, and that would then eventually start to generate income, which would be the baseline, if you like, of our operating costs, but without touching it. Yeah, and I've read a lot about this with other clubs. So, Real Madrid's got a fantastic future fund. Collingwood's future fund, we're more than 30 million. Yeah. So, most government super funds are returning 10% a year. So if they're returning 10% on $30 million future fund, that $300,000 a year can go into their operating. So, what a great relief that would be if all of a sudden, so there's $300,000 free every year. How would that set you up in terms of being able to sustain this place in the future? So, for me, it still should be an aspiration of that. It would have to start off small, but, start off small and ask the members to donate $100 a year for 10 years, or ask, like members to, leave $1,000 in their legacy to the club, and you start this future fund, which would then wisely invested with all the finance brains we've got in the club. Bring the Colonel back. I'm sure with Dicko's input, and a few others, we would be able to invest it really wisely and generate a rolling fund that would just support that baseline of our operating costs year up year. And so our extra activities would be, there are some other cake. I think that would make it much easier for, clubs like this, where you're having much more difficulty getting volunteered, we're having much more difficulty finding ways to generate income. You would provide that sustainable future, that future-proof us against things like COVID and against things like unpredicted catastrophes, shock council, that you might face in the future. So that would be something I'd really think about, and I'd like to push the Human Club to anyone at risk.
Well, Sheriff, I've gone through all the questions here. So, is there anything that you'd just like to finish off with? Or?
No, look, I think, mate, I'm very fortunate to be asked to do this, but I'm also very fortunate to be in a part of the club and to walk across the road as a 7-year-old kid there and played for such a long time and been involved for such a long time. And, you know, I look back on my own life membership, I can't remember what year, it was in the 80s when I was made a life member, and I am glad, Kevin Heard to kill me saying it, but I'm glad that we still adhere to the principle of not just games played, life membership. And there'll be a lot of people that have got alternative views to that. What that shows to me is that when you read through that list, there's a lot of people in there that have played a lot of games, but there are a lot of people in there that are enormous amount of work outside just me. So I think that really separates us. You know, so I think we've got a great record. We've just got to work hard to maintain that, to maintain our financial viability in what is going to be tough times in the future, and we can set the standard for another 150 years. On a great sporting institution, which I was very pleased to see on the internet the other day when the Premiership wins was published, and we were actually number one in Australia. So it's no longer debatable, which is actually there in fact. It's black and white. It's black and white.
Absolutely.
So no, thanks very much, mate, for your chance.
No, well, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you, Sheriff, after all of your jaunts around, good word, and Centra finally catching up. So it's been an absolute pleasure, and what you've given the club over all that time, and your leadership, your friendship, and your contribution is very much appreciated by everyone. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.